Hi everyone, welcome to StudioJake. Today we have a very special treat. We have Ezra Celeste. She is one of my all-star guests, and she's joining us here again. And we just had a season of college graduations, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about that. Ezra, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
So first of all, I noticed that and especially this season of college graduations, there were almost virtually no center right speakers. They had Hillary Clinton, they had Bernie Sanders, I think even Vice President Joe Biden spoke at one, and very few right wing, conservative, wholesome values people spoke. I think Mike Pence spoke at the American Navy Academy, and at Notre Dame. But even at Notre Dame, he was protested a little bit. So, why do you think? Where do you think the disconnect is that they're? Do you think it's the colleges are doing this on purpose? We're going to force these left wing speakers on you, or do you think that it's just they just know, oh, probably if we have a conservative, they'll be protested. Might as well just bring in Bernie Sanders. What do you think?
Definitely the latter, and it's really sad that it's more acceptable nowadays to bring in someone who lost the election than the actual winner of an election. But I don't think that they're intentionally trying to, shove Hillary Clinton down everyone's throat, or at least not all of the campuses are. But I definitely agree with your latter statement that it's just easier to have Bernie Sanders because, he's so widely and socially accepted. So they would rather have that than be on the news for, students erupted and walked out of a commencement speech and, have all of the protest news on them.
What's funny about that too is I don't really know why Bernie Sanders is so widely accepted. I mean, before he was elected in Congress, he wrote a series of stories that was basically the 50 Shades of Grey. And
I know. My mother sent me that, and she goes, "No, he's a socialist, and he writes porn." And I was like, so yeah, I definitely had to look that up, and that was a little strange. I think people flocked to him because he was just so different, and that's kind of what the 2016 election was. Oh, look at all this different, and not Hillary Clinton, basically, is what.
And that's to me what I think where the disconnect is too is, conservatives not so much anymore. I think we talked about that last time. How conservatives are now kind of becoming the rebels, but conservatives for a while represented more of the same. So we're going to talk about that again, but really, especially if you look at conservative intellectuals like Vice President Mike Pence. He actually does have a lot to offer. I mean, I listened to his speech at Notre Dame. It was a pretty good speech.
Yes, very much so. It has a lot to do with PR and their public image. The conservative public image has always been, clean cut. You can't be anything besides Christian, right type of person. At least, and that, of course, that's not true, but that's always just been the perception. So even back whenever I grew up, from a conservative household, but honestly, I did not want to be a conservative. So for a long time, I was like, no, I do not belong to the conservative group because it's cooler to be a liberal and to be leftist because look at everything that they do and they can just have green hair and it's going to be totally cool and they're more acceptable. Because they accept gay marriage and all of that, but once you start diving into it, they're not. They're a lot less accepting.
Well, it's funny because I know it's kind of taboo to mention him, but Milo, before his fall from grace, I remember I was having a conversation with Dave Rubin, who is also they're both homosexuals, and And Milo told him, listen, don't trust the left, because as soon as they domesticate homosexuals, they're going to try to control us. And, despite his issues, he was actually right about that. I mean, now you have homosexuals, or left-wing homosexuals, banning conservative homosexuals from the Gay Pride March. So, it's political correctness that's stemming from this commencement speech thing is also affecting other events.
Exactly. If you don't fit into their box, then you are ousted from the box, and you are not allowed to belong. And a lot of the big liberal people, the politicians, especially like Elizabeth Warren, I can't stand her. They make you into their pets. Is basically what they do. And if you don't sit and heal whenever they ask you to, and you don't play into their victimhood mentality, then you are ousted. And they make up some horrendous excuse like you're a racist or you're an alt-right person or something in order to be able to justify the fact that, no, you just have a mind of your own. It's crazy.
Well, I remember a school 1 or 2 years ago tried to invite Clarence Thomas to speak at their commencement address, and of course the whole Anita Hill scandal came up, and I just think it's so funny because I'm sitting there doing this because I'm like, Clarence Thomas was vindicated, despite what. So the left wants to protest Clarence Thomas, a Supreme Court justice, over a scandal that happened, was it the 80s? And that one that he was vindicated for. Anita Hill was never brought any evidence forward, nothing. She was, for all intents and purposes, even the stuff she accused him of, especially when you think about some of the other scandals that have happened recently, was while inappropriate, didn't amount to the same level that, say, Bill O'Reilly was accused of. And
right.
So an unproven scandal gets Clarence Thomas protested. And same with Mike Pence. I remember the Chicks on the Right did this hilarious video on their YouTube channel where they were making fun. And they're like, come on, it's Mike Pence. What's he going to do? Use words? And that kind of brings us to the next part is the commencement speeches are starting to get dumbed down more and more. If you look at them, I remember George Will talks about this in his PragerU video. How they're all about hurrah, and it's like watching a pep talk from a bad '80s movie. Before they charge the battle or onto the sports field.
They all do that.
Yeah. The Russell Crowe speech from Miracle. Why do you think that is? Do you think that's a reaction to, we have to dumb it down for the special snowflakes, or do you think that's just sadly the way the culture is going, is we don't want intellectual thought in our commencement speeches?
I think it has a lot to do, well, if you look at the way Mike Pence kind of addressed the Notre Dame campus, I think that one is purposely dumbed down because he's trying to address what the liberal campus is all about, which has become dumbed down. And so they all just kind of have the same message of, well, go out into the world, each one of you is special and you can do it, go, instead of bringing them to reality and saying, okay, yeah, you have a degree, but guess what, you're still going to have to work hard, and there's still going to be a whole lot more that you are going to have to do in order to be able to make it, instead of basically doing everything that they've done within the past 4 years. I mean, the college education has just become so dumbed down. I was looking at a list of college courses that I forgot who wrote about it, but they printed the list of college courses, and it's just all, women or gender studies and gender something. There's a class about Beyonce that's available nowadays. I mean, how is that? So yeah, commencement speeches have definitely become dumbed down because they're addressing people that are taking courses in Beyonce and courses in something trying to be science that is not science.
Well, it's funny because I read a study the other day that last year was kind of the first group of college students to graduate with these left-wing courses, like get a degree in lesbian dance therapy and all this, and they're actually finding out, oh, no one wants to hire me. Like they're finding out that their degrees are totally useless, and even the universities won't hire you to teach unless you have a master's. So you can't even go back, because that was, I was talking with my sister about this. Is we have a family member who is considering becoming a teacher at a university, but they can't unless they have a master's. And and he actually has a good degree. He has a degree in business management, and he's managed businesses, so he has the experience and the education for it. So, as opposed to, so it's even difficult for him, but unlike these college students who just go back and live in their parents' basements, he is going to try to do something about it, which makes total sense. And I was talking with Andrew Clavin, actually, screenwriter and novelist. He actually came by Conservative News offices one day, and he was saying how high schools need to start teaching taste again. And I thought that was spot on, teaching them about Shakespeare and Maya Angelou and, the great writers of the West. And that way when they get to college, they're not going to take a course in gender studies because they'll have actually studied something that stimulated them.
Well, and that's I'm glad that he said that. That's something that I really, really believe in, is that you have to start in the middle and high school and even elementary to where you are teaching them not just the whole, each one of you is extraordinary and you can go out and do everything and you're a special snowflake. That's great. You do have to provide that self-esteem for them and that support, but laying down a foundation of values and of morals and keeping like that traditional family and community and building upon that, the education that comes with it is, I think, very structurally important, so that whenever they go out into these liberal universities, they don't fall victim to or not victim, but, they don't fall into the trap of, oh, wait a second, okay, now I'm at a university and they're telling me that all these things that I learned back in high school, like having values and morals and thinking for myself is bad. Oh, okay, I must now fall into line with them. They still come out of there with the same mentality and the same foundation that they had. It's
I also think it comes down to how the parents raise you as well, because Ben Shapiro actually said this on his podcast. I don't know if it was today's, I can't remember if it was today's or yesterday's episode, but he was saying how not Gen X, I guess that'd be the baby boomers right before, how a bunch of the parents just said, hey, we're going to let our kids do whatever they want. And those kids went to college. And so that's why they're the reasons why we have to avoid intellectual stimulation, even in something as important as a commencement speech. Now, that's not to say encouraging and commencement speeches aren't a bad idea. I listened to one, I can't remember the guy's name, but it's a famous one. It went viral about the guy who talks about, he opens by saying, the only scientific thing I'm about to tell you is to put sunscreen on before you go out in the sun. And then he gives them a whole bunch of great advice, like, don't alienate your parents, stuff like that. And while that was not an intellectual so much, like saying the Marshall Plan or Condoleezza Rice's commencement speech or Mike Pence's speech to the Navy Academy, but it was still actually good advice. It wasn't just a go hurrah and take your gender studies. He was actually giving them simple but good advice. I guess I would compare it to Mike Rowe, giving good, wholesome advice to people. If you were to give a commencement speech, what would you tell these students?
Well, I would tell them that it is hard. It's hard to succeed, but it is possible. And each one of them can do it. You know, that's not something that I'm saying that is bad, and to tell people that, yes, you should go out in the world and do something with yourself. And you can do it, but it is hard, and it's not going to be like college where you can show up late to class or not show up to class at all and you can still make a passing grade. I was guilty of that, not gonna lie. But you have to show up, you have to work hard, and no one's going to hire you based on whatever degree it is that you get. I would say at least 70% of the time they're going to hire you based on what you show them that you can actually do. It's not even based on a degree. Even if you are, if you have the degree that they're looking for, if you're still a terrible person that can't show up on time or can't work hard, you're not going to get the job. So you still have to be the hardworking person.
That makes total sense. Well, Ezra, I want to thank you so much for coming back. Eat some Bluebell ice cream for me, and and definitely we don't have any here in LA. I do miss my Bluebell.
That's terrible.
And Blue Bunny just isn't the same. Not even close. But anyway, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ezra Celeste.
And also be sure to find me on Twitter at RealJakeAiry, and also on my blog, www.jakeairy.blog. Pick up a copy of my paranormal novel. It's still available, and the Kindle edition is on sale for $2.99, so you can get it. That's a great deal for an ebook and perfect for Father's Day. Be sure to like and subscribe, and Ezra will see you next time.
Thanks.